What are the benefits of MCT oil?
So MCT oil, as keto people, we see it everywhere. So what is up with MCT oil? What makes it better than another type of oil? That's definitely something we wondered in the beginning. So
I'd never heard of them before. Before we started keto, I was like, what is everybody talking about these MCTs for?
yeah, when we started keto a little more than 3 years ago, it was really just barely starting to become more mainstream. It was really not well known. There weren't a lot of keto products. So it took us about 6 months to really even hear about MCT oils. And honestly, I kind of wrote it off as,
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about what it is. So MCT stands for medium chain triglycerides.
Right. So that's, I'm not going to do the full name, but it's C6, C8, C10, and C12. And that's lauric acid, capric, caprylic, and caproic acid, right? Not in the same order, sorry.
So he said 12 carbons, 10 carbons, 8 carbons, 6 carbons. So it really is about the number of carbons. So just one thing to note is that less carbons is easier for your body to use. So full spectrum coconut oil is going to contain all of them.
Right, so 6, 8, 10, and 12.
So MCTs generally pull out your 6 and your 8s. So look at the label of whatever MCT oil you have, and it should tell you what's in it. Is it C6, C8? I know Perfect Keto's liquid MCT oil is C8.
Right.
So what does any of that mean? Well, okay, so MCT is different from a long-chain fatty acid in that it's absorbed directly through the portal vein. So it doesn't need digestive enzymes. Your body doesn't have to go through that whole process to break it down and eventually get converted to ketones. MCT oils absorb directly, goes right to your liver where it's converted to ketones. So it's a great fast source of energy for people, like you used to reach maybe for sugar or a sugary caffeine Mountain Dew. Now you can reach for MCT oil. And so that's what's kind of created the popularity around keto coffee. So
the types? Oh, yeah. So MCTs, well, obviously they create ketones in the body, and that's probably the main reason that they're such a hot topic and a hot product in the keto world, is that people are looking to boost their energy levels and boost their ketone numbers. They don't really need a lot of digestive enzymes to be broken down, so they're easily broken down, easy to digest. In fact, some people, if you take too many at the outset, you can have some bathroom adventures. So you do want to kind of work your body up to that. And because MCTs boost ketone production, you reap the benefits of higher ketone levels and like mental clarity and some of the other features of being in ketosis.
Yeah, so there's a couple different ways you can get MCTs. So most traditionally in an oil, so a bottle of oil. MCT oil doesn't have a smell. It's very neutral. It's great for cooking with, baking with, anything you'd use another oil for. It also comes in a soft gel. Some companies, I know Perfect Keto has it out in a soft gel. We have those in our cupboard. Those are great for when you're traveling. If you're going to be out, if you're going to be hiking, it's a very convenient way to carry them and just have them as soft gels. And then there's MCT oil powders. And we're going to talk a little bit more about MCT oil powders in the next segment of this piece. But one thing I want to mention here is that you want to be careful as to what that MCT oil has been plated to.
Right. So it's kind of impossible to get MCT oil into a powder format by itself, right? So you have to what they call plate it to something else to make the powder.
So we recommend looking for something that's plated to acacia fiber or acacia gum. We'll get more into that in our next segment. So now, when do you use MCTs? Right? So we know what it is. We know how it benefits us. It's a great way to get energy, but what's the ideal time to use these MCTs?
Yeah, my favorite way to use MCTs is as a coffee creamer or an additive to my coffee. Typically not my first coffee of the day, though.
Yeah.
Something later.
And I like to use MCTs mid-morning, and then if I am struggling mid-afternoon, it doesn't happen very often, but females, you know what it's like, especially when we get to that time of the month. If I'm just really struggling in the afternoon, I'll make myself a cup of ginger tea. Love ginger tea blended with MCTs.
Yeah.
Yeah, yum. You're not a big ginger person.
Probably my favorite way to use them is as a pre-workout. Like, sometimes I'll use like straight up exogenous ketones as a pre-workout, but sometimes I'll just use MCTs and I find that they work just as well. And I really, usually they come in really good flavors. So
yeah, you're talking about like powders. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're struggling with hunger, so a lot of times that's why people use MCTs mid-morning or as part of their fast, because the hunger kind of hits and they can use MCTs and the hunger goes away. So it's a great tool to have in your arsenal to be able to extend that fast a little bit longer and just add some fats that you know are going to be quickly converted over into ketones.
Yep. So we've also used it to bake with, cook with, use like straight MCT oil as like the oil that you put in the pan when you're cooking something hot. What else have you used it in? Baked goods?
Yeah, baked goods. It has a higher smoke point. I mean, always read the bottle and follow the instructions, but MCT oil has a higher smoke point, so you can saute. You can do a lot with MCT oil, just cooking and using it around the kitchen. So we did have a question that's interesting. Is MCT a form of caffeine? And it's not.
No, I mean, so if you're saying, is it like caffeine? Not really. It doesn't, like caffeine can make some people jittery and anxious, and I don't think MCTs.
It pushes ketone production.
Yeah.
Right? So think of if you took ketones externally, like what would happen to your body? What happens to you when you're at a higher level of ketosis? It's just going to help kind of boost your ketone level, which boosts your energy.
Right. It's not something that's going to keep you awake.
No. So I want to share my keto coffee recipe. So this is what I use either in decaf or regular. I really only drink a cup or so of caffeinated coffee, and then I do decaf the rest of the time. So this either way. You can also do this in teas. So black tea, chai tea, like a decaf ginger tea is one of actually my favorite ways to also make this coffee. So it makes this drink. It's a coffee recipe, but it's so flexible. So what I do is 8 ounces of liquid, whether that's coffee or a tea that I mentioned. And then I do a tablespoon of MCT oil. And then I use a tablespoon of acacia fiber. So acacia fiber is commonly used for plating MCT oil into a powder. But there's a lot of health benefits that go along with acacia fiber. If you Google acacia fiber, you'll find all of these. So I like to supplement with acacia fiber for that reason and because it's an emulsifier. So there's nothing that drives me nuts as seeing oil floating on top of my coffee. So the acacia fiber helps blend it together. And then you blend it with a milk frother. If you have an immersion blender. I don't like to use like personal blenders that you have to turn upside down because hot liquid can go everywhere. Yeah. So you're looking for some like kind of you can use them, but just be careful. I've had coffee go everywhere. I've gotten burnt.
Yeah, and when you put a seal on something like that and you start mixing it up, you can create pressure, and then even if you tip it over and open it up, you can still make a mess.
Yeah. And then for flavoring it, I do really like these monk fruit Lakanto drops or stevia drops. The Sweet Leaf Stevia Clear does not have any of the additives. Be careful with the flavors because they've started adding things like vegetable glycerin, which for some people can spike blood glucose.